Hello, my name is Bob Eskridge. I'm the president and founder of Eskridge and Associates, where we specialize in providing physicians nationwide in about 65 different specialties. We also do nurse practitioners and physician assistants. Our main customer base has been with the Department of Defense, primarily with the Army and the Air Force, as well as Veteran Affairs. And we have some extensive contracts with those folks. And for example, providing emergency medicine physicians to staff ERs across the country. Been very successful. We've been in business for about 11 years now. Prior to that, I actually started my career in the Air Force. I was a captain as a missile launch officer, originally based at Malmstrom Air Force Base in Montana. Then one day I got a call out of the blue from my brother to resign my commission. And after I stopped laughing, quite frankly, he explained what he had in mind, and it actually was very intriguing, and so I decided to jump at the opportunity. I resigned my commission and started a business with my brother. It was a high-tech business. We started that in Las Cruces, New Mexico in 1992. Quickly realized, as through the growth phase of that company, that it was very difficult to recruit engineers to come to New Mexico. And so we commissioned a study with the New Mexico State University MBA program to look at a couple of sites. Austin being one of them. Came back with what we were wanting to do and decided Austin was the best location, so I was on the next plane out here. Around 2000, we ended up selling the company, and so I started a contract CFO business where I was the CFO for a number of companies here in the Austin area. That grew very successfully. I got to the point where I needed to expand in the business base, and I went to register with a company called Robert Half Management Resources that recently just opened up in the Austin area. And that was my introduction to the staffing world. And I quite frankly fell in love with it. I've never done sales before, never done commission sales, and I was just always been intrigued with the process. And so quickly learned quite a bit about the staffing world through Robert Half. I was recruited away by Express Personnel a couple of years later to help revamp their franchise owner program. Learned quite a bit about that portion of the business. And in 2002, 2003 timeframe, I decided I wanted to start my own business again. And that's when I formed Eskridge and Associates. And the best thing about recruiting and the worst thing is anybody with a phone and a phone book can call themselves a recruiter. But I was wanting to find a industry that has some kind of barrier to entry, so there's a way to differentiate yourself. And I knew I wanted to do something in healthcare specifically because I figured it was probably the most recession-proof industry to get into, and I have found that to be quite true. When I discovered the physician world, it provided that barrier to entry that I was looking for. Primarily, when you're placing contract physicians, you have to carry a malpractice policy, and as you can imagine, that's not necessarily cheap. In 2002, started the business. Made my first placement in 4 months. I was a gastroenterologist in Phoenix, Arizona, I believe it was. And took me 3 months to remember how to spell gastroenterology, and then was able to place that person. That kind of set the momentum for the company. One of the big pluses is with my service background, it gave us a lot of avenues in the government segment of the business. And so that's one area we really focused heavily on. We do also provide services to a number of civilian clients throughout the country. We have contracts with small offices that need support, whether the physician's going on vacation or on maternity leave. We'll provide a physician on a contract basis, or what's called locum tenens, which is Latin for stand in place of. And we'll provide a locums physician to cover the practice while they're out, and that's been very, very successful as well. Most recently, we won some major contracts for the next 5 years with the Army blanket purchase agreement, which allows us to be available to any Army installation across the country where they need a physician of a particular specialty. They could call us, and we'll be able to provide that service to them. Being part of the Austin community and Round Rock community, obviously I'm always interested in opportunities to support the local businesses and hospitals here in the area. I'm really excited about the healthcare potential in Round Rock with the addition of the new hospitals coming on board. I'm anxious to help and support their needs as they go through their growth phases. So I'm very interested in working with local hospital administrators to help develop their recruiting plans specifically for their physician base, as well as their nurse practitioners and physician assistants as well. Probably about 5 years ago, I was getting asked quite a bit to speak at local conferences and getting phone calls from folks asking about how to build this business, build a staffing recruiting, and specifically a physician recruiting business. Unfortunately, my time was so tight at that time that I really didn't have the time to really commit to that. So what I did is I figured, well, maybe there's a way I can get that information available to folks without having to relay it on a personal basis. And I happened to go to a seminar about writing books, and I thought, well, maybe that'd be a great way to do this. So what I did is I took all my training materials and organized it in a logical flow of how to do a recruiting business. So I wrote a book called So You Always Wanted to Be a Physician Recruiter. And so this is kind of a compilation of what it takes to be a recruiter in the direct hire business. Basically, where a company comes to you, they have a need for a physician, and they want to bring them on a permanent basis or a direct hire basis. And this book outlines that whole process of how to go about finding that person that meets the requirements of what your client's looking for. And that's been very, very successful over the last couple of years. It's got a pretty good followership. I've been able to leverage that into additional speaking engagements. Most recently, I was asked to speak at a couple of national conferences that I was glad to accept. I'm also working on my second book. It's the ABCs of Kick-Ass Recruiting. It's kind of a more general type recruiting focus rather than just physicians. And then I'm actually on starting to write my third book called Time Management of Highly Effective Recruiters. And hopefully that should be coming out next year sometime.